Hi guys, welcome back to Homeless But Human. This is Lydia, a second-year missionary from San Diego. Today we're doing things a little bit differently. We're handing the mic over to our missionaries to hear about their favorite memories from the past year, both on the streets and in community. We hope you guys enjoy.
People of Preston City, people everywhere around the world, this is David Christopher Pacheco.
Hi, my name is Kimmy.
My name is Arthur Ortiz, been in Denver since 1973.
Okay, so let's just talk in circles for a little bit.
Just shoot the breeze a little.
They see beyond what I look like and see what my actions are and say, hey, that is a good person.
A lot of people say home is where the heart is, but my heart's in many places. It's just I don't know where home is.
I would say that my favorite memory so far of this year has to be on Colfax, walking the streets of Capitol Hill. We were walking on a very windy day. It was sunny, though, as well, so it was still warm. And we ran into one of our friends, Jewel, who was sitting on the side of the road at a bus stop. And when she saw us, she lit up, and she jumped up. And one of the first questions she asked myself, Allison, and Marta was, "Have you hugged a tree today?" Obviously, I said no. And she made us walk over into the Capitol Hill Park area and hug a tree with her. At first, it was just me. But with some extra encouragement, Allison and Marta soon found themselves hugging the tree too. And we just all ended up laughing and smiling that day. And it was a quick encounter. It was quick, just talking to Jewel. But in that 5-minute span, our day had just truly become uplifted and joyous.
One of my favorite moments was on the streets when me and another missionary, Jess, met our friend Stevie. Stevie was in a very sad place, and yeah, he was crying a lot, and he just had lots of different sorrows that he was dealing with. He kind of called out to us. He approached us, and he was just really looking for some people to be with, and he was even asking how do you know there's a God? Because he really was struggling to see him because he was in such bad shape. And I think we were able to share with him what an answer to that. And my favorite part about that moment was just that we got to be with him in that. Because we were on the streets, we were available to be with someone in such a low moment like that, when maybe they didn't have people. So that was an honor to be in a really low moment with Stevie. So
My favorite memory from this year was when Anderson and Anthony lost to me in Slapjack and had to stand on a chair and do a chicken dance.
One of my favorite moments from this year was when Chris, Anderson, and I were supposed to get Chipotle, and it ended up helping this lady get back to her family in Los Angeles. It was a really good day, especially when Chris emptied half his bank account.
My favorite moment from this year was on excursion, men's excursion at Telluride, when we all played Wii Sports together and just bonded through that.
My favorite moment from this year was I was doing Nightman, where I was doing jail ministry, and I walked into the room and I saw this guy and I asked his name, and he said, "My name is Big Worm," and then everyone in the cell went, "Big Worm."
My favorite moment from this year, one night after a Tuesday dinner, right before we did community night, everyone was just hanging out near our black couches, kind of our living room area, and we were all just playing music. People were singing along, and it was a great time.
One of my favorite moments from this year is community night when we did improv. Got up and did super funny skits and literally laughing our heads off.
Favorite memory from this year would be when my street team went to visit our friend Dennis. He was in the hospital. We had met him on the streets, and then, he had kind of disappeared, and we were able to get his phone number from a mutual friend on the streets, and yeah, we're able to reach out to him. And he told us what hospital he was at and said that he would love to see us again. And so we were able to go and visit him. When we got there, they told us that we had to put on all of this like protective gear, like these big like boot things like over like our shoes and a hairnet and a mask and gloves and these weird gowns. So we kind of looked like we were aliens a little bit. We later learned it was just because he had lice, but we got a real good kick out of it afterwards. Going into the situation, we were a little scared and didn't quite know what to expect, but then we got in there and he was chipper and joyful and excited to see us. And yeah, we learned we just had to wear all that because he just had head lice. But yeah, seeing his joy at us visiting him and yeah, just seeing how encouraged he felt. Like after we left, we brought him a get well soon card, and he later told us that he put that up on his windowsill, and whenever he's feeling sad and just like upset at life, like he would look at that and be reminded that he had friends and that would help him. So
one of my favorite moments was making pet rocks for our friends Mark and Tom, who are these two little old men that are like grandpas. And they accepted it with so much grace, begrudgingly, and still hold on to them and carry them with them.
Yeah, I guess I would say my favorite moment from the year was definitely going over to Chuck's and watching The Chosen. I met him my second week here whenever I was doing summer of service, and our friendship just continued to grow, and it's really beautiful to see where it is now. Just being able to go over to him or go over to his house and just enjoy his company, and yeah, just be able to grow in the faith with him is really beautiful to see. I love Chuck a lot.
I would say that my favorite moment from this year has definitely been from the streets. Many times we have a lot of fun with our friends. Walking the parks route, we just have a lot of joy and fun with them. Very recently, we had a day where we were able to celebrate the Epiphany with our Hispanic friends, and we made them a king's cake. We baked the rosca, which is how you would say it in Spanish, and we brought it to our friends. We, at the corner, where we hang out with our Hispanic friends a lot, we just took turns just celebrating the tradition of cutting the king's cake, and we had a few of our friends there, and one of our friends, Mario, he was super excited to cut the cake and was just very excited to celebrate in this tradition. And I had so much joy and fun being able to serve them in that moment, and so just simply serving them a piece of cake, but just making it extra special for them. And it was also very fun that on the first slice that I cut for our friends, for my friend Mario, and there's a tradition of hiding a baby Jesus in the rosca cake, in the king's cake, and he was the very first one to get the baby Jesus, and so that's such a big moment where, and a lot of fun, because that means that you would create a party later on for your other friends in February, and so no one wants to find the baby Jesus in the cake, but Mario got the cake with the baby Jesus, and so everyone's up in uproar, and just a very fun, lighthearted moment where we're all able to celebrate in this little tradition, but in bringing it to our friends on the street who normally wouldn't be able to celebrate in this tradition, to participate in this tradition. And so for me, it was a very fun moment on the streets.
My favorite moment from this year would probably be when one of my friends on the street was trying to convince another person on the street that God is real.
My favorite memory from the streets would be my interaction with Grace. Me and my street team partner were walking by this creek, and we saw someone that we knew, but they were getting ready to leave. And right next to him, there was a woman laying down. And because we were there, we stopped and saw if she wanted to talk. It was someone we had never met before. And she was sitting down on the steps, and she started talking to her, asked her name, and she started to open up. Really didn't say much, but as she started to talk, I asked if I could sit next to her. And so we were like face to face with one another, and I was just listening, and as she talked, she began to break down, started crying. And it was just a very moving experience. I was able to, with my street team partner there, it facilitated a place of safety for her and I to like encounter one another. So I know I wouldn't have been able to have this interaction without my street team partner there. But in that moment, I just had a lot of love for her, and I saw like how Christ was in that woman. Towards the end of the conversation, I asked if I could give her a hug, and she let me. And there's just something special about being so close to a person that you can hold them. And I felt very close to Christ through that. And it's probably my favorite encounter on the streets so far.
My favorite moment of this year was probably one of my first street walks. I met this guy named Dennis, and he's a pretty great guy. We got to know him pretty well later on, but initially he was, he was just doubting God's love a lot because of things that happened in his life and things he saw serving in the military. And yeah, he had like a lot of medical struggles, and he was wondering why he was still alive. And in that moment, I didn't really know what to say other than, I'm happy you're here, Dennis. And later on, after that, he kind of disappeared, but he ended up getting taken to a hospital where we were able to go and visit him and create a greater relationship with him. And he's doing a lot better now. He's really filled with hope and love, and yeah, it's just great to have that kind of relationship with somebody.
One of my favorite memories from the street is when we took our guitar out, Henry and I. We were able to play some songs for a lovely woman. There were tears, there was laughter, there was joy. She was recently on the streets, and so we were able to point her in the direction of one of the women's shelters and really just accompany her in her new journey of homelessness. So it was a real privilege and memory that I hold very closely. So.
One of my favorite moments of the year was when it was our friend Vince's birthday, and we brought him a birthday card, and he was so touched by it. He started to cry, and he was just talking about how much it meant for us to remember his birthday and how much he loves us and how much he didn't really get to celebrate his birthday when he was younger, and he started weeping so hard that the tears were falling onto the birthday card and making the birthday card wet, and almost like messing up the writing. It became smeared because of that. And I think that just really reminded me of how important our mission is to our friends and how just simple encounters, simple conversations can be so meaningful for them.
My favorite moment from the streets this year was getting to play Exploding Unicorns on my birthday with our good friend Lewis. Just sitting around the library, getting competitive, talking smack. But it was so wonderful to just be with everyone.
Honestly, one of my favorite parts so far is Summit Week. It has been Summit Week. Just getting to travel with the community all together and to meet the Denver Missionaries has been just so fun, and it's been such a glimpse of heaven that it shows what's to come, that we're all meant to be together and to live in harmony. And yeah, I've just had so much fun while visiting Denver. We've gone up to the mountains and we've had our singing and dancing nights, and every moment has just been so joyful.
One of my favorite moments from last year was one of my good friends on the street, Marie, getting into a shelter. It was something that we couldn't have imagined at the start of the year when we had met her, and it was really a joy to see her just clean and not carrying her bags and wearing clean clothes. It was a very beautiful moment.
It would have to be rediscovering my personal relationship with God and realizing that He desires for me to relate to Him not as a hired servant, but as a son.
So we met Moses at Love Park, and we were walking with him for a couple months, and around Christmas time he disappeared, and we were a little bit worried, but come to find out that he actually, being in a shelter, we found out from word of mouth from one of the friends on the streets, and we were able to visit him, and he looked great. Yeah, we went to the shelter and gave him a hug. He's a volunteer there now, and he's staying there for a year. So it was just a glorious story. It was amazing, beautiful to see Moses in such good shape and just glowing, just happy. So
what comes to mind is talking to my friend Jonathan on the streets. Really just shooting the breeze. Getting to know him. I think authentic encounter is what sticks with me. Both at lunch in the park and then also with the friends on the streets.
I think one of my favorite moments from this year has to be the first time that my friend Mandy came up to me, arms open, to be embraced in a hug. She was going through a really hard time, and Mandy is a very independent, self-sufficient person. And so it meant a lot to me that she was willing to let down her barriers to have me comfort her in a time of need and in a very vulnerable time in her life.
One of my favorite memories this year is my dear friend Lori. I met her last year, and she had been talking in the weeks preceding this moment about getting into housing, and it was any day now for several weeks. And she showed up to lunch in the park, and she had no bags on her, and she was like, "Do you notice anything different?" And it was just her dog and her bag, and she had gotten into housing the night before, and so had left all her things at home, and she just had this huge smile because she was lighter, spiritually, emotionally, and then physically without her luggage.
One of my favorite moments as a missionary was when we met with a friend named Nemo, and we just sat down with him, and he told us that we guys make him feel more human. That was very touching. Nice.
My favorite memory from this year was our 65 plus bingo night when everybody dressed up and we had a really great
One of my favorite moments this year was hanging out with our friend John. He was on the streets for the first part of the year when we met him. And then we'd been a friend with him for a couple months, and he was really struggling. He was at a really low point. But then he got into temporary housing. One of his old healthcare aides just brought him into his house, and we drove. It's about a 30-minute drive from our house at Christ in City in Philly, and it was just so joyful seeing how much he's recovering just being a week in the house, and to kind of celebrate as a team with him, to sit with him and to be with him, to see him being able to walk and being able to hear us better, and that was just a beautiful day. He still has struggles and all, but it was just a joy to see him.
Christmas lunch in the park, because it was such a joy to share the mission with my family and to see the joy on all of our friends' faces on Christmas Day.
Thank you for joining us on Homeless But Human today. In order to keep producing this content for you all, we invite you to consider joining our known and loved monthly giving community. This is one of the most impactful ways that you can join us on mission. Your monthly gift sends missionaries out to the streets day after day and helps us to continue recording and sharing our podcast. It's our vision that every city not only has soup kitchens and shelters, but communities who are committed to helping the homeless know that they have a home in us. And what is home but a small taste of Christ's infinite love? Visit christinthecity.org and make a monthly gift today to join our known and loved community. And if you enjoyed today's episode, do us a favor and go hit subscribe and leave a review. To get more involved with the mission, visit christinthecity.org.